Good morning. This morning where I'm at is 10 a.m. Mountain Time here, high in the Rocky Mountains. My name is Scott Stanfield. This is the Modern Longevitarian. And talking about stepping into a modern world, today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, or AI, with the expert Slava Kurilyak. Yes, I'm gonna make sure I get his name pronounced right, and I got it. I see he's shaking his head in the background there. But before I do, I want to say, this is the new year. People make resolutions, and even I. Through doing my Candida cleanse and all the things I did in the last part of December and the early part of January, gained a couple pounds. So I understand how the holidays can get to us and put a little pudge on us. So if you're interested in coaching a program, come work with me. You can go to modernlongevitarian.com/coaching. Or if that's tough for you to spell, strongforlonger.com, and then the toolbar at the top, hit the coaching page, and then set up an appointment to talk with me. It'll be a free fitness assessment. We can get you started on where you go, and there'll be value in that call no matter what. No matter if you decide to work with me or if you decide just to take what you got from the call. So I encourage you to do that. Also, coming out soon, I keep teasing this, we got just a couple more entries to put in the Spirituality Gone Wild. And if you're watching on the Spirituality Gone Wild broadcast network with Debbie G and all the other co-creators, I want you to know that we have this thing coming out, the Book of Secrets. And it's going to be a secret from, it looks like it's going to be about 18 different co-creators that are giving their one secret to life. Mine is find yourself and do you. And that's the quote that I said yesterday, and it has really impacted me, is Mark Twain said that the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And so when you find out why, that's super important. And so this Book of Secrets can help you navigate life in a different way, and it'll introduce you to all the other co-creators that have live shows or their biography or the programs they have. And that will lead you on to the Untamed Club, which is where we have workshops like this Saturday. Next Saturday, I'm going to be doing a workshop as well. And so there's all these things that are going on, 5-day training programs on emotional intelligence. And there's just so many things that are in there. Life lessons from the movie Forrest Gump with Steve Weber from the American Gumption Morning Show, which I've been on his show 3 times already. So check him out, super cool show. So without any further ado, I want to bring Slava on so we can talk about artificial intelligence and future of this and where it's going. So Slava, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So first off, let's talk about, you're the founder and the CEO of Produvia, which is your company. You help large companies tap into and become fully automated, through the different stages of automation with AI. So how did you get started in artificial intelligence?
Yes, Scott, I have been working in the AI industry for the last 8 years, but I think the beginning is the most interesting. And really, this ties to what you described earlier about finding yourself and doing you. My finding yourself story began when I was working in the engineering field. I was working in software, and there came a time when I asked myself, how do I deal with all of this increasing amount of data, right? At the time, myself and my co-founders were creating a startup around fitness, and we were gathering lots of data around personal user data, around nutritional data, around fitness data. And I remember feeling overwhelmed by data, Scott. And I asked myself, how do I move forward? And I did not know that answer. I did not know what to do next. I knew what I was doing in that moment, but I did not know what to do next. And this is where I questioned my methods of self-discovery. I questioned my methods of reflection. I asked myself, how do I find myself? And the answer was not obvious at first. I actually decided to create in a way, a sabbatical or a self-imposed meditation. And I really sat down and I meditated for about a week, where I decided to shut off all sort of external sources of input. Everyone was giving me advice on what to do next. My own head was lots of ideas, but really through meditation, I found the answer to how I would deal with data, how I would move forward. And that answer, as you may allude to now, is artificial intelligence.
Mm. That's super amazing. And I actually was thinking about that when I was saying find yourself and do you. I was like, you and I couldn't, even though you talked about fitness, you look a pretty fit guy. You're probably a little bit younger than I am. I'm 48, but you definitely have, found a niche, and you've been doing it for a long time. So you found a way to be profitable at it and do those things. And so first off, let's talk about this. There's multiple stages inside of this, and I mentioned this before. So just give us like, what stage zero of being, using AI, right?
Yes, Scott. So I've had a chance to work with companies across different industries, across different sizes. And what I've noticed was there was always a perception of the ultimate state of an organization, right? The nirvana of organization. So let me define that first nirvana first, and then we can work backwards to get to where most companies start from today. So nirvana of organizational operation is what I call full automation, and that's the fifth level of automation. So, from my personal sort of reflection and observation of how companies transition through different stages of automation, what I discovered and put together with my team were 6 levels of automation. So it goes from level 0, which is considered zero or no automation.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move forward to worker assistance, level 1, partial automation, conditional automation, high automation, and finally full automation, or what I previously referred to as nirvana. So these stages or levels, if you were, are very important for companies to consider, because automation actually is a spectrum, right? This is something I want our audience to come away from, is that it's not that you're not automating or you're automating. It's that there is a spectrum of automation, and the more automated you become as an organization, the more individual autonomy you achieve, right? So the more you can create systems or robots or software that do things for you or on your behalf, the more time you have to do things yourself, right? Scott, you mentioned you decided to go through a cleanse. That's exactly what happens with companies. The more automated they become, the more the individuals empower themselves to take care of their own health, to take care of their own life.
Right. So give me an example of a company that is fully automated or close to being fully automated that everybody may have heard of, and then we can make some correlations to maybe how the solo entrepreneur like me can tap into some of these things. So who's doing it right out there?
Yes, there's definitely lots of companies who are striving for what's considered a full automation. Mind you, this is a peak ultimate state that everyone wants to get to. So it is a journey. It is a stepping stone. Having said that, there are companies who are very close to becoming more and more automated. The company that most of our audience have heard of by this point is a company called Tesla. Tesla Motors is a company founded by Elon Musk, who is also running several other companies, including SpaceX, Solar City, which now has been as part of his sort of umbrella of management. Nonetheless, Elon Musk had a vision where he described a full autonomy for vehicles. And what he saw in his vision was that companies would create vehicles that would run by themselves. Tesla decided to be that company. They created a vehicle that would be able to drive by itself, only being told where to go by a passenger of that vehicle. not the driver, the passenger who would get in and tell the vehicle where to go. So this is a company that's striving to achieve full automation. Now, at the moment, they are very deep into the development of this concept. They are very close to get into that state of where, at least in their context, the car is fully self-autonomous, fully self-driving. And the goal of this car is to achieve full autonomy, not just from the perspective of driving, also from the perspective of charging. So Tesla is also developing automated systems that allow it to basically pull up to a electrical station, have electrical conduit move into the car and automatically charge the car, so that it can actually get from point A to point B and do so in a way that is fully charged.
That's super cool. So, that's about the car. I mean, I imagine that they're also incorporating this into their factory. Do you know anything about, like, are they using robotics or on the assembly line or any of those type of things to really, you know, to streamline using, creating the cars? Are they using anything like that?
Absolutely. They are one of the leaders of enabling their organization to use robotics, enabling their organization to use full autonomy. And the way they're doing that is they see automation also as a scale. They do have a vision of being fully automated from the perspective of having a potential buyer click a button called buy, all the way through the car is made into production. That entire process is aiming to be fully automated. Now, the way that Tesla is going about this is that they started with having a manufacturing company, meaning themselves manufacturing cars where you have people and robots working together. This is sort of often the initial stages of how companies get started with using software and robotics. But recently, I believe within a year or two, Tesla acquired a German company, manufacturing company, that is fully automated. And from here, again, I'm giving you examples of what full automation looks like, but the goal of Tesla is to have technology that is performing all of the manufacturing steps of a vehicle production in such a way that the management of Tesla can simply manage the software, but not the people. Now you have a fully automated robot floor. The robots are performing all of the assembly, all of the components necessary to manufacture a Tesla, a car. And in this case, this particular manufacturing facility is based in Germany, but this is a vision that Tesla has for both creating a self-driving car and creating a manufacturing floor that assembles the car.
Okay, that's awesome. So for those of us who may not be Elon Musk or have a large manufacturing company, let's say there's someone like me, right, that has a live show on LinkedIn or some coaching clients, things like that, and I'm trying to get my word out and my message out and things like that. Are there, of any systems that are good for automating, like you see, like people can sign up and just playing in the background. People can go to a click funnel and kind of stream that way. Is there anything you know about how someone like me can automate a business like this to create more time? Because that's why we do this, right? I didn't create this to work 100 hours a week. I created it so I can have freedom, right?
Yes, one of the best business goals for people to strive to is to use technology to save time, right? This is one of the easiest ways to convince anyone why they should pursue more automated solutions, why they should pursue whether it's basic programming or more advanced machine learning models. And for those who are not familiar, machine learning is a subfield of artificial intelligence, and it's simply referring to a system that's learning from data. So whether we're talking about the basics of if something happens, then do something else, or we're talking about something more advanced where we're looking at probabilities and we're trying to decide, what is the next best action based on the data we have available. And that's where we often leverage machine learning or artificial intelligence. And to answer your question, Scott, there are many ways that solo entrepreneurs, small sized businesses can get started with using automation and start adapting artificial intelligence. Usually that comes in the form of leveraging software that is able to move data back and forth. And often that's done using APIs, which is short for application programming interfaces. Now, this is one of the easiest ways to get started in automation. So any software that is able to move data using APIs is one of the easiest ways to get started. I'll give you and your audience a brief example so everyone can look into this if they want to. There's a great software company called Zapier, and that's Zapier.com, Zapier.com. There are alternatives to this if you're interested, including IFTTT. And these software solutions or vendors are really streamlining the simple programming logic that the programmers often create in their software. But these software is now available to the consumer. This software is now available to the entrepreneur, to the business owner, and anyone can get started with basic automation for as little as $5, $10 a month. Zapier has very flexible, very transparent pricing on their website, and so anyone's interested can get started very quickly. Mind you, Zapier is a very simple tool. It is really looking at how you can move data from point A to point B in the sort of the most a streamlined manner possible, like I mentioned, APIs. And so if the logic is simple, then Zapier is the perfect solution for that. So for example, imagine somebody visits a landing page and imagine you're able to capture that individual's intent. Well, perhaps you know his or her name, perhaps you know his or her email address. Well, in that case, that form becomes a trigger. And now you can push that trigger into any other solution using an API. So this is where Zapier really shines, right? Imagine pushing data from a landing page, for example, like a ClickFunnels, into a MailChimp, which is a mailing solution that allows you to follow up with that individual and send them a message saying, hi, I noticed you filled out our form. Maybe there's something that we can offer you to give you even more value. So these simple conditions, these simple logical flows are possible using Zapier. And this does not require artificial intelligence. This does not require machine learning. It does require you to think about how you can move data from point A to point B. And this is the easiest ways that companies can get started. And this is how a company can transition from level 0, called no automation, to level 1, which is called worker assistance, where the software is assisting the worker or the entrepreneur in performing a specific task.
Right. Like for instance, with Zapier, I was looking at how to use Facebook Messenger bot, responses and for free downloads of my book on sleep that you can go to. I'll tag it right now. You can go to sleep.strongforlonger.com and get a free download of this book because it has 7 ways of getting sound sleep. It's titled Outstanding Living: How to Get to Sleep of Your Dreams. And I was looking at that, and Zapier can actually help if I choose to put that Facebook Messenger bot into my LinkedIn messaging, right? And so there's, this is combining things in a different way that they could assist in that. So sends me a message, they can get a response from a Messenger bot. This and that versus, and it's not even a LinkedIn function, but Zapier can help through their APIs allow that to happen, which is actually pretty cool. But I like responding in person to a lot of people that send messages. I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, and that's, we're at, 30,000, followers there on LinkedIn. And if you're watching, I really appreciate it. By the way, Mr. Ramirez is watching here, made a comment. I want to say, hey, thanks for watching. And we have a comment from YouTube. It says 6 levels of automation there. So I appreciate watching on YouTube as well. So we're streaming 6 places on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So you can, no matter what platform you're on, you can find us there. So thanks for watching and commenting. So it's just really interesting for me because, I'm, when I say, like, right now I'm 48, let's say that I'm going to be 100% at age 100, what do you see over the next 50 years, happening with, because right now it's like you can't talk to a human when you try to talk to somebody for your Comcast bill or your cell phone bill. You're using this artificial intelligence to kind of answer your questions and to help the chat there before you even talk to a human. So what do you see happening? Is it going to be what's on the movies, or is it going to be better than that? Because a lot of people are scared of what AI can do. Even Elon Musk said we should be even watching AI and making sure it doesn't take over the world and kind of crash the whole thing. So what does the future look like, and should we be worried about it?
The future is unpredictable. Having said that, the future is really up to us to decide. And this is where, as business owners, as visionaries, we can create the best possible scenario in our minds first, and then we can work to make that into reality. And so from the personal level, I'm very optimistic about what the future brings. I think that software, artificial intelligence will make our lives better. It'll make us live longer. It'll make us be more healthy. It'll slow aging. It will allow us more freedom. It will give us more abundance. From the technology perspective, I think technology is really a matter of evolution. I think of technology as inevitable force, like us humans beings. It will continue to evolve. It will continue to grow and expand over time. What I can talk about the next stages of evolution is from the perspective of what I'm noticing already happening, and I will make my predictions based on what I notice is happening today. That is, I already see companies going down the path of automation. So this is where companies predominantly are using what's considered a narrow AI. And this is a concept that is very important for readers and for listeners of this show and podcast to understand, is that narrow AI, the most common type of artificial intelligence being used today, is the idea where you have an AI that's solving one task very well. And that task is really based on one domain, right? So think of it like this. Imagine that you want to be more healthier, right? So this is the domain of healthcare, right? We're looking at some sort of personal biometric data. We're looking at data about the individual. And that AI is now perhaps suggesting when is the best time to sleep. And let's say this is a sleep-related artificial intelligence. This narrow AI is only solving sleep problems. That's one problem, right? If you want this one AI to do something else, well, unfortunately, it's not trained for anything else, right? This is the limitation of current technology. You have companies like Tesla who are using AI to do one task at a time. Now, it does not mean that Tesla has one AI. It just means that they've built one AI to do one specific thing. And it also is important to know that companies like Tesla, they not only have one, but sometimes they have tens, sometimes hundreds, or even thousands of AI that, synergistically, they're working together to simulate intelligence. So this is where most companies are today. So the present moment, right, before we jump 50 years ahead, is where companies are using narrow AI, and these AIs are solving one thing at a time. And I gave you an example of a recommendation system that's helping you to share when you should simply go to sleep. Now, imagine what happens as we want to improve on this intelligence. So let's say we want to say, okay, hey, AI, can you do something more than just solve one task? Can you solve two tasks? Now, this is starting to, I would say, extend beyond where technology lies today. And this is where we start to use different learning techniques. This is where we start to use different technologies. And now we're starting to do what's often referred to in the media as general AI, or artificial general intelligence. And here we have AIs that are a little bit more intelligent, a little bit more advanced, and now they're able to help you accomplish more than one thing at a time. So perhaps, Scott, you ask AI, hey, can you help me to figure out how much water I need to drink? And when is the next time I should do the cleanse? And when is the next time I should exercise? Now this AI is more intelligent. Now, this is sort of the next evolution of artificial intelligence. Now, we're not there yet. We're not there at a point where AI can help us to do many things at sort of from one command. The best thing we can achieve today is we have a series of narrow AI that are simply chained or stacked together. So it appears like this AI is sort of guiding you through a series of steps, but really it's just passing one data to the next sort of stage of the process. Now, general intelligence is where the technology will move forward next. But there is a big problem, and I want to address this for anyone listening, because for those who are interested to live longer, for those who are interested to be healthier, it's not just enough where we as individuals use technology and that technology is far from us. It's not like we go to this sort of cold object and we talk to it and we ask it questions and we have a response. This is sort of a very distant approach of using technology, right? It's not us versus technology. This is where companies stand today, but I think the merger of the two, right, where we have the human intelligence with artificial intelligence coming together, would be the next evolution of technology. And this is where technology, I think, will start shifting towards. And where I see is happening, Scott, is that you have companies who are now using artificial intelligence to bridge the human gap. And the way that companies are doing it is by developing what's called brain-computer interfaces, or sometimes called human-computer interfaces.
Okay. One of the things that really is coming to mind with me is like, I started intermittent fasting, 9 years ago, and there was no app around to track your fasting time. I used a clock, right? I
Yeah.
stopped eating now. I'm not going to eat for 20 hours. If I stop eating at 10 o'clock, I got till 6 o'clock before I can eat again, right? And do that. It was very simple. Now there's an app called Zero, right? That you can actually put in your fasting time. It tells you what phases of ketosis you're in, or your body's doing. It kind of gives you a little bit of information. But that app does nothing to tell me, what I'm doing for sleep, right? There's another whole app to have that. And there's other things to put it together, like a Whoop. I don't wear any tech or any of those type of things, but it may be telling you something like how well you slept, what your heart rate variability is, those things, but it's not telling you your hydration, right? So we have all these different things that may track. Their triathlete may have something to track how fast they ran or rode a bike or swam in this particular thing, and spit out data for them that way. And then there's an app for calorie counting and macro counting and water consumption. There's a different app that can track your sleep, and I don't know, maybe all that being compiled into the iPhone health app is maybe, in the beginning phases of having all these things talk to each other, so you can look in one place and kind of get a snapshot for how you're doing that particular day. So, I'm imagining a day in the not so distant future that we'll be getting tons and tons of more data in one central location that tells us, what my heart rate variability is. Should I work out today? Should I not work out today? What kind of workout I should do today? What my body composition is, what my body fat percentage is. I need to build more muscle to optimize my particular genetic code to get to where I need to go. And so it could be like this. Maybe I just made it up, right? And this is what I need to be creating, right, in the world, but it's a really cool thing in the future where you could like combine all these things together, and then it spit out like, this is what you need to do today, right? To be based off your sleep, heart rate variability, body composition, hydration level, what you ate yesterday, and what your goals are, what you want to do to kind of get you there, and tell you all those things. And to take the human coaching aspect out of that. You'd have somebody that programmed it, but you wouldn't have the human actually going, "Hey, Slava, how you doing? This is Scott today. I'm here to coach you for an hour to get you where you need to go for the next week," type thing. So what do you think about that?
I think that this is one of the best ways that anyone can not only extend their own life, but also help their clients. If they are gathering data, healthcare data, biometric data about that individual, then they can offer the individual insights, right? And the more insights that you can offer yourself or others, the more valuable you are. So if you are pursuing this app, this is a great idea that is worth the pursuit. I know there are companies that are spending millions, if not billions of dollars to try to solve these problems. I'll give you two that you may have heard of. They're quite small, but one is Apple, one is Google. These are companies that are definitely wanting to solve these problems. And for those audience who are curious to know how a company like Apple or Google is solving these problems, well, you simply need to open your phone if you have an iOS or an Android. And on the Android, you will see an app called Fit. On Apple, you will see an app called Health, I believe. And these applications are really acting very similar to what Zapier is doing. For those who listened earlier, Zapier is a tool that really pulls data using APIs. And this is exactly what Apple and Google have done. They've built connectors to third-party applications like Runkeeper for those who are into running, or Under Armour for those people who are into fitness. These applications collect the data, and Apple and Google are simply pushing data into their ecosystem using APIs, using SDKs. And these are applications that are tracking data across multiple domains, right? Scott, you mentioned tracking your sleep patterns, tracking your movement patterns, like tracking your nutritional patterns. Well, these applications are pulling data from third parties. And the ultimate goal for these companies is to not only collect that data, but actually offer insights back to the users, right? So, hey, can we track the users' behavioral data over a week period? If we can, maybe we can offer an insight that says, hey, Scott, this is the perfect chance for you to go for a run. And that recommendation would come from analyzing your data, but more importantly, it would also come from analyzing the millions of users that already have given their permission to sort of share data with Google and Apple. And that recommendation becomes much more powerful, right? So these recommendations are often powered by artificial intelligence technologies. And the reason is because you have such a variety of data, such a variety of sort of use cases of how people move their bodies, that you must use more advanced statistical methods to figure out what is the next best course of action for Scott, right? These recommendations are using artificial intelligence, and these recommendations are very insightful for individuals. And the simple fact of the technology, Scott, is that if you do nothing else except for launch the technology, and all you do is gather data, right? 1 year from the time of launch, you now have a much more accurate recommendation, right? You did not change the algorithm. You did not change a single thing. You just gathered more data. And now these algorithms are much more accurate. And that is one of the reasons why companies must get on board with using any automation today, is that the more data they gather, the more software they use, the more likely they create the scenario where the solutions that they build on top of that data becomes more accurate, right? So if you're already using Zapier, if you're already using third-party solutions to give value to you and your customers, then this is a step one. Step two is building something on top of that data. So I'll give you an example, Scott, of how you can start to use artificial intelligence if you are already collecting data, and that way it gives you and your audience a better example of how you transition from sort of a partial automation to more conditional automation and perhaps even full automation. So imagine you're collecting data. Imagine that data is coming in from Facebook. Perhaps it's your website or an emailing list. Well, imagine you wanted to give yourself more time in your ability to respond to the different people who are in contact with you. So imagine, for example, you're feeling overwhelmed by LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just flooding you with messages. It's a great platform, but at the same time, you feel overwhelmed. You want to give yourself more time. So you ask yourself, how can I use AI to help me in my LinkedIn efforts? Well, the way you would do that is you would need to push LinkedIn through a machine learning model that starts to analyze those conversations for you, right? So a simple way to do that is to ask yourself, perhaps what is the intent or what does the user want me to do? So whoever is messaging me, what do they want from me, right? This is one way you can start to think about how artificial intelligence can help. And here you can have a system that performs something called text classification. It's analyzing the text or the messages that are going through LinkedIn, and it's able to automatically classify on your behalf what is the user's intent, right? Intent classification is another way to think of this, but text classification really means that you're classifying text based on what you're looking at, right? So perhaps you're reading a piece of text and it says, here's a link, and this is an information that's useful to you, so you classify it as for your information. Or perhaps you analyze another piece of text and it's a question for you, and it's a question related to an upcoming live stream or an upcoming client phone call. And now you classify that text as perhaps urgent, or you classify that text as a question, right? This is one way to think about how you would use AI. You perform something called text classification, and you're analyzing the intent of the text messaging. Another way is where you're analyzing the sentiment, right? So imagine you have some people who are very happy, some people who are uncomfortable, some people who are not happy, and they're messaging you or your clients, and you want to deal with those types of messages, right? So now you can sort messages based on sentiment, right? Or the positivity score, if you will. Now you can have a system that performs sentiment analysis. This is another example of a machine learning model that's able to classify for you, what is that scale of positivity? Is it a very positive message? Is it a neutral message? Is it a negative message? And based on the score, you can now rank the messages you respond to, right? So imagine you get a few messages that are negative. You respond to them first because they are higher priority. Then you get messages that are slightly neutral. You give them more attention. And for the most positive message, you still can surface them, but they're less important than the more negative messages. So these are two examples where you can start to use machine learning. You can start to pull data from, for example, LinkedIn, websites, communication like email, and you can start either to classify text or perform sentiment analysis.
Mm. So another form of machine learning, I guess, would be Grammarly. You've heard of Grammarly, right? The
Yes.
online editing. It's now giving you the sentiment score in an emoji form, where it might
Yes.
be angry or frowning or neutral or insightful or encouraging. So you get all these different things. I do a lot right now. I use Grammarly online all the time, and so that's something that if you're not using that, I mean, you definitely can do it. I used it to edit my book, right? But my final edit on the book, I copy and paste every page into that, or every section into it to make sure that, everything was spelled right and everything was there. And it's really interesting to see the sentiment and how my sentiment scores have changed since that's become something that's been aware of me. I tend to kind of write, in a way to kind of put weight on things. And now sentiment score has moved into the more positive over the time that I've been seeing that score. And it's been not by design. It's just like, well, I guess it's gamifying it a bit for me. So it's really, really interesting thing. Are there other examples that you can think of that are, that just the average person can tap in when it comes into machine learning or sentiment scores or any of those things? But by the way, I use Runkeeper to track my hikes, right? And I have that integrated, being pushed into the health app. I don't, haven't looked at it recently, but I could talk about other things. Like I use the Wahoo app for my heart rate monitor, and I used to use HRV, which is a heart rate variability app that that the Wahoo was attached to through Bluetooth. And it's a really interesting thing. We can get back to the question, but I just want to say this to go back to what you're talking about, is that when you start checking heart rate variability, and what people don't know what that is, let me explain to you really quick. It's really a correlation how your heart beats to what nervous system, autonomic nervous system that you're in, whether you're in fight or flight or rest and relaxation, or rest and relaxation is called parasympathetic. I call this the power mode, right? So capital P, parasympathetic, capital P, power mode. And you want that to be on as much as possible versus being in fight or flight. And when you're fight, your heartbeat has no variations between the beats. It's very boom. It's very consistent in how it beats. And then the parasympathetic, there's variations, slight variations that between each beat. It may be 0.9 seconds between this beat and 1.1 between the next beat. So there's inconsistencies in the beats, and that's actually a good thing. That shows you're in parasympathetic, you're in the power mode, you're being productive, your creativity, your rest, relaxed, digesting food. Health just happens naturally, all those things. When I'd wake up in the morning, I'd put my heart rate monitor on, and I would check my heart rate variability, and I was in fight or flight. And it tells you not to work out, tells you need more rest and all those things. So I need to meditate and that type of stuff. So that can give you a number to help you understand where your body is based off the environment you're creating itself, your epigenetic, expression, lack of water, you're breathing through your mouth, your thinking's putting you in stress about the future, or that people are storming the Capitol building in DC, or lack of sleep, or you didn't eat good, those type of things. I want to get back to those things and really explain that, which is super cool. But back to the machine learning question and Grammarly and those things. Are there other online tools that you've seen that are cool that are maybe off the radar for people that we can tap into that'll help us improve, something about our writing or anything really?
Absolutely. For the audience who are interested to deal with text, there's a great solution that is called Monkey Learn. That's monkeylearn.com for those who are interested to check it out. This is a solution that allows you to get started with artificial intelligence in a way where you pay for very simple artificial intelligence solutions, and it allows you to analyze text, right? And an example of text analysis is what we previously talked about, where imagine you wanted to understand sentiment, or you wanted to understand intent of what is being said. You use a software like Monkey Learn to understand very simple conditions of text analysis. Mind you, as soon as the context changes, as soon as you want to analyze a very specific data, or the complexity of the analysis increases, this is where oftentimes individuals and organizations turn to more custom solutions. And for those who are interested, feel free to check out Produvia, where we help companies to develop these custom solutions. So, you can use a solution like Monkey Learn to get started, and it's a great stepping stone for those who are new. But as soon as Monkey Learn hits certain limitations of customization, or you and your team want something more advanced, this is where oftentimes companies turn to more custom solutions. And there, you need expertise from the perspective of being able to create properly labeled data sets. You need expertise from perspective of creating and choosing the right algorithms to perform different types of natural language processing tasks, so that you can actually create what it is that you want to achieve. And a simple example of that, Scott, is imagine you are analyzing pictures, and you want to create a system that automatically captures pictures, right? So you take a picture as part of your job or business, and you want a system that automatically captions for you, so that you can save yourself a little bit of time. Well, this is an example of a more custom solution that creates a mapping or a link between imagery and text, and there you need oftentimes a very specific algorithms to make that jump. And there, a solution like Monkey Learn unfortunately does not help you to do more advanced functionality, But having said that, it is very powerful to get started for those who are interested in specifically natural language processing or text analysis type of tasks. And then beyond that, for the audience who's interested to learn more where they're currently using machine learning, right? We often move about our lives and we often take sort of software or technology around us for granted, but oftentimes that technology is already using AI. And this is a key insight I want people to take away, is that this is not a technology of the future. This is a technology that companies already use today. And we sometimes forget about or may not be aware that this technology already exists. And I'll give you one quick example for the audience. I'm sure you have already seen or used a software by Google called Gmail. Gmail is a very powerful email client that is extremely easy to use. And one of the reasons is because they have integrated artificial intelligence into their solution. I'll give you just 2 examples of how they're doing that. One is every time you get a new piece of mail or an email delivered to you, Gmail will automatically bucket or segment that email on your behalf into different types of labels, right? So you have primary, we have newsletter, we have secondary, etc. This is a system powered by artificial intelligence. This is one way that they're automatically sorting on your behalf. Second sort of way is that you have the ability to have a system that can automatically give you suggestions for what you can reply with, right? So imagine you start to hit the reply button, you start to give a response to whoever emailed you, and now you see a little bit gray text that says, thanks for reaching out. Here's a link for you to check out, right? So this recommendation is now being powered by artificial intelligence. This recommendation is what you can use and you can click on, and now you didn't have to type it, right? Now Gmail suggested that for you. You clicked to save yourself, imagine 5-10 seconds of typing, and this is extremely powerful. This already exists today, right? So one is automatically labeling your email, one is predicting what you should type next or what you should send. And this is an example of how people are already using AI today. Second example, Scott, I'll share with the audience, and I'm sure many of you have been familiar or at least used a company called Netflix. Netflix is an amazing, very, very powerful company today. In the midst of COVID-19, it is even more sort of prolific because more and more people are staying at home. But nonetheless, Netflix is powered by, from my count, at least 6 different AI solutions, and now even more so, I'm sure, if I look into it. But at its core, the first page that you see when you open Netflix, this what's called the news feed, or in the Facebook terms, or Netflix feed would be the Netflix equivalent. This first landing page is powered completely by artificial intelligence. And there you have very specific recommendation systems powered by deep learning algorithms that are showing you what you should watch next. And these recommendations are coming from based on everything that Netflix knows about your previous watching history, as well as all of the different types of watch behavior from all of the millions of users that it already has, right? So now you're cumulatively combining the data from millions of users, and you're presenting that data to you on your screen, and to you, you have the best possible user experience, right? You log in, you're wowed by this next movie, and you don't even realize that it's powered by artificial intelligence, and you simply click on the first movie to watch, and you are loving this movie, and you sometimes don't know why, and it's because you have been sort of primed and prepped for this next movie, which is the best movie for you at that time. And Netflix does this by using lots of different technologies. Most of it's powered by artificial intelligence, and it's simply chaining these AI systems together to give you the best possible experience.
Right. There's a match score, right? You'll see somewhere between 84 to 98% match score on a particular movie is recommending that you watch. There, I've seen that. And then it's the same thing happens with the algorithm in the feed on YouTube, where you may search something like, like I searched you this morning to find the video that I wanted to watch in prepping for the show. and I started getting other things popping up. But then all of a sudden, about after the 6th or 7th video, when as I'm scrolling, it goes back to my normal type of feed, right? It showed up, Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory with Seth Godin. I watched both of those guys, and so it put the two together, suggested that even though it had nothing to do with artificial intelligence, it started sending me to marketing type videos, right? And so there's all these things happen, and it happens on all of these feeds, where it's like if you click on a feed, click on somebody and like their stuff, you're more likely to see them again tomorrow, right? And those type of things. And so it's super cool to really understand how this is all impacting our lives and all those things. And one more comment coming from Royale Black. He is watching us on YouTube. So important to learn about AI. Thanks for the great info. So thanks for watching, and it's our pleasure. We enjoy talking about these things. And so, Slava, I just want a couple more questions. So where can people find you online, or how can they get in touch with you?
For those who are interested to get in touch with my team and I, we can definitely have a conversation about artificial intelligence if you are curious about that, and you can learn more about us at produvia.com. Scott, thank you for putting that link into the live stream. Produvia.com is where you can find general information about our service. You can read our blog, you can watch our live streams. We also do live stream about artificial intelligence, where we aim to bridge the gap between artificial intelligence technologies and business, where we aim to educate and inspire individuals around the world to adapt these more modern technologies. And beyond that, for those who are interested to get in touch with me personally and keep up to date on myself, you can check out slava.website. That's slava.website. This is a personal domain that I've recently launched to help and sort of spread the personal brand if you are on both the sort of the technology side, the business side, and entrepreneurship. I have often, like yourself, Scott, many ideas, and sometimes you need a venue to express yourself. Sometimes a venue like live streaming is a perfect channel. Sometimes a blog or something written is the next best form. So it's great to see you, Scott, doing this for your channel. I'm super stoked to see how far you've progressed in the last 60 or so episodes, and I will definitely keep an eye out for further episodes. And for those who are interested to learn more about technology or artificial intelligence, feel free to check out produvia.com or slava.website.
That's awesome. Thanks for being here, and I really appreciate it. This is episode number 60. We started airing shows on October 9th in 2020, and I heard something that said hindsight is 2020. So I guess that's kind of a play on the last year and how that all played out, no pun intended. But I want to say thanks for coming on. The show's been super insightful for me, and I always like looking into the future, see what's on the horizon, and you really help shed some light on where things are with AI and automation, all the different stages of those things. And I just want to say thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate it. It's been great to chat with you about artificial intelligence, to chat with you about how companies can transition from being sort of no automation all the way through full automation. And I am happy to answer your questions on this live stream, as well as any audience questions that you have for myself. And I'm super excited to see your upcoming episodes. For those who are interested, I also do live streams, and you can find some of my live streams on some of my social media channels as well, if you get in touch with me, if you're interested more on the artificial intelligence side. And again, thanks again.
It's my pleasure. So I'm going to click you off here. It's been great. I've got to run to another appointment here real quick. And so it's been an amazing show. I encourage you to watch it. And then tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to have a special episode tomorrow. I'm just looking forward to that, and and really like highlighting where we can really focus on our health going into this new year and what the most important things are. So tune in tomorrow, Friday, episode 61 of the Modern Longevitarian. Again, my name is Scott Stanfield, the working title of this, and I need to change it, I guess, at some point or make a decision. But it's my Friday, and that stems from the restaurant world. My almost 30 years there. And if today is your Friday, I hope you have a great weekend. And cheers. It's time to roll.